point, and they can point out blind spots that you and I might be missing. Well, today they were talking about the Iran war and the upcoming midterms and how President Trump has 90% approval on the war from MAGA voters and 70% approval from regular old Republicans. They said they worried that CNN putting out this he has 100% is maybe a psyop against the president. Now, this war needs to be wrapped up because people are losing their patience when it comes to this. But more than that, we could be losing independence, which is what is needed for J.D. Vance or whoever to win in 2028. But they have to have the independence if they are going to keep the majority in the Senate and over in the House. Let me go ahead and show that to you now.
By Harry and by Harry and Republicans have loved tweeting Harry clips lately about Harry saying various things that they like. Well, Harry this morning showed the Fox News poll and said this war is unpopular. This war is making the president less popular, and the president's handling of the war is unpopular. Here's a bit of the Fox poll 116. Again, Fox poll came out last night consistent with every other public poll and private poll that I know about how Americans feel about the war. And so here it is. Current military action, the U.S. military action is described. Do you support or oppose?
You know what they say about the young?
All voters, 42% support. 90% of Republicans, MAGA Republicans, 77% of all Republicans. Again, putting a lie to the notion that MAGA is less supportive or MAGA is wavering. But amongst independents, 28% support. Yeah, you haven't seen, I talked about this last night, Kevin. Obviously, as Larry suggested, this reflects why members of some Republican members are getting restive because they're hearing from their constituents. If all they care about is their MAGA constituents, maybe they don't care, but if they've got a district that's at all split. Kevin, does the president have a meaningful public opinion problem now, or it doesn't matter because he's not going to care about the polls and he thinks he can end the war before it matters?
Yeah, he sure does. And Mark, you made the point, and it's right that you don't look at the Republican and Democratic numbers, right? Anything the president does, Republicans are going to support, Democrats are going to attack. But the fact that he's underwater by 58 points on the handling of the war, with independents specifically, I think is giving not this administration, Paul, James Blair, Susie Wild, people responsible for the president's politics, but also those congressional folks too that Larry just mentioned. And there's some uneasiness certainly with those numbers, and it's a Fox poll. The fact that he's also, it was 50-50 when the war started. Now it's -16. That movement is really with independents, not Democrats or Republicans. Like I said, they're in their silos when it comes to this. But that independent movement, I think, is problematic certainly for this administration.
I think there was so much focus at the beginning because of Tucker and because of Megyn and because of Bannon. There was so much talk about a splinter in MAGA, and we kept seeing these polls that said, no, MAGA's fine, that they took the eye off the independence numbers. That independent number has been dropping consistently over these 4 weeks. And but from the president's perspective, and from the administration's perspective right now, Kevin and Mark, nothing succeeds like success. And they believe that they are on the brink of a historic, game-changing, globe-changing success.
All right, so a couple of things. This clarifies President Trump has the patience and the support of MAGA for right now. And at the same time, he's got to be careful not to lose the independence. He's already underwater significantly, which he needs in order to win the midterms. If he loses the midterms, he loses his presidency, essentially. It's going to be very, very difficult. If they lose the Senate, it's over. He's impeached, and then they'll try to impeach J.D. Vance in some way. But I also like what Larry shared there. He said, nothing succeeds like success. So if they can bring this war home, finish it off, and move on, it's going to be touted as a great success. If gas prices come back down, it'll be a huge success. So there's a lot of things going, but they're walking a razor's edge right now, and hopefully that they can pull it off, because we want J.D. Vance and others, we want the president to succeed and remain as powerful as possible for his last 2 years. Now, border czar Tom Homan shared how President Trump's policies are keeping thousands of women and children safe because of a closed border. They're not being violated, they're not being trafficked at the same rate, and it's keeping Americans safe overall. Let me show you what he said.
People want to say that the Trump administration, are inhumane and we're racist, right? They call me a racist, right? They say we're inhumane. Well, let's think about that.
That's
When 96, illegal immigration down 96% last, down 96% now, which means 96% less people are coming. Now, there's been studies done that 31% of women that make that journey with the cartels admitted to being raped. If 31% admitted to being raped, how many were actually raped?
right.
So when 96% less people coming, how many children aren't dying? How many women aren't being raped? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't getting in the country to poison Americans? How many no-inspect parasites are getting in? No. The most humane thing you can do is secure the border and stop the horrific activity of cross-border crime. President Trump's policies are saving thousands of lives every month.
All right. One of the main reasons that people voted President Trump in was to close down the border. In fact, about 50% of Republicans said, if he just keeps his promise to close the border, I'll support him the rest of the 4 years, no matter what he does. So think about how many women and children are not being violated every month. I love what he said right there. The most humane thing you could do while keeping America safe is to close that border, because it doesn't give people incentive to come up into the country. All right, now, Sheriff Bianco, who's running for governor in California, he seized almost 600,000 ballots out there in the Riverside County, California area because it was reported that there were 45,000 more votes than there are voters. So